Mr. Chairman, for the introduction and for the opportunity to talk about a border that we don't talk a lot about in this committee, which is the northern border. And it is interesting Senator McCain's still here, because I think one of the challenges we have both on the north and on the south border is, as we have put and deployed more resources at the points of entry, we have opened up rural America, whether it is on the northern border or the southern border, to mischief. Things that used to happen through the port of entry now could, in fact, are happening on the southern border in very remote locations, which creates huge disruption to local communities, to rural America. I recently hosted Ali Mayorkas, the Deputy Secretary in North Dakota, and I want to applaud Blue and Green. We gave them a great look at how cooperation works in North Dakota. And your folks have been just absolutely fabulous on the northern border and cooperating with local law enforcement, cooperating with Canadian officials, cooperating with local chiefs and sheriffs. It's seamless, and the applause is all around, but there's challenges. In Minnesota, the challenges are wooded. In North Dakota, it's open prairie, miles and miles. I mean, if I took you up there, farmers are farming around the boundary posts. So this is not what you see typically on the southern border. One of the big challenges we have is getting staff in remote locations. And I think you both can say the challenge, I think we're down a number of Custom and Border Protection officers in Pembina, and we continue to struggle to get Border Patrol to stay on the northern border. And so my question to you is, what are you doing within the Department of Homeland Security to secure additional incentives for workforce to stay on the northern border?
Thank you. So recently commissioned an internal work group to look at exactly that. We have a lot of places that are hard to fill and hard to retain staff at. So we're looking at what are the options at our disposal now as far as relocation incentives, retention bonuses, paid moves, promises of, limited assignments there of a couple of years, and then looking at what's the right options to offer at the different points.
Are you
of
meeting with
entry.
any resistance internally in making pay adjustments or incentive adjustments to secure staff on the northern border?
No, we haven't. It's just a matter of finding the budget funds to do it and figuring out what's the right approach at each one of the
So once again, we're
locations.
back to budget constraints giving us a less secure border, I think is the point Senator McCain was trying to get at.
Well, we've
I know you don't want to say that, but...
No, I'm happy to say that. Because, I mean,
okay, we'd like it if you say
we've
that.
submitted the staffing needs, as part of the annual budget for the last couple of years. We did receive 2,000 more CBP officers 2 years ago. We're in the process of hiring them, but the need still remains for 2,624 more, and it's just finding ways to pay for that, and these would be distributed in amongst with the workload staffing model to do that.
I think we would be foolish to say that that we can manage the borders, either the northern borders or the coastal borders, which we haven't yet talked about, or the southern land border, without additional resources. Be it additional aircraft that can monitor the border, basically transport folks in North Dakota. We don't have any capacity for detention. And we have a huge number of what I would tell you are undocumented workers who are working in construction in North Dakota, who are pulled off roofs and pulled off construction projects only to be on those construction projects the next day. And so I understand the lack of capacity, but I also think that we have to be realistic about the squeeze that we're putting on rural borders. We're trying to take care of it, whether it's San Diego or McAllen or El Paso. We see the problems there, and we ignore Cochise County and Pembina, and to the west. And so you guys have to help us work through this, because as we push the envelope and put more and more restraints on those border crossings, we're going to move the bad guys to rural America. whether it's on the southern border or the northern border. The other question that I just want to broach quickly, because I think the focus here is all people coming to this country, but we have a fair number of people who are crossing into Canada from this country, and that causes concern for Canadian officials. Mr. Wagner, I was interested in your exchange with Senator Booker, because it seemed like we were maybe two ships passing in the night. Do the Canadian officials not share their watch list with us?
I don't believe we get their actual watch list.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Okay, is that because we won't give them ours, or is it because they have privacy regulations that we can't work through?
The FBI manages it for us, and we're users and consumers of it, and we contribute to it, but we're not the owners of that.
But what I heard all of you talking about is this extraordinary cooperation you get from the Canadian officials. Sometimes laws don't allow it to be seamless, but I can tell you, as a former Attorney General from my state, when we used to do intel briefings on the northern border with local law enforcement, whether it's break-ins, burglaries, drugs, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police were always at those events. And so I can tell you, locally, it works very well, and it sounds like you believe that it works pretty well kind of country to country. If you were going to make any changes in that relationship, what would you recommend, any of you?
I mean, it's really strengthening the information exchange and the access to the information that you have internally within your organization or your country. We exchange a lot of information with the Canadian government at the land border. Our entry records are serving as their exit records and vice versa, so we can start the exchange and the identification of who's overstaying, and we can also see then who left the country. In the commercial aviation environment, we're doing joint rules creation and joint targeting efforts to look at threats to North America, not just necessarily the U.S. or Canada in between, but it's what access do they have to be able to then share with us, which brings up the watch list.
Are we sharing lists of folks who are on the list for deportation with the Canadian officials?
I'm not aware. I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, I'll submit some additional questions, but I do want to, once again, give you a high five for all the great work that's done in North Dakota with constraints on resources and for the extraordinary cross-border cooperation and local government cooperation. You guys are doing a great job up there. Your folks should make you proud.